Hey, this is Doc Gooden, and you're listening to Locked Up Sports.
Everybody, this is Don LaGreca from the Michael K. Show. When it comes to talking sports, Bob Walters and Brett Grasso are the authority.
Can't wait.
When it comes to talking sports, they're the authority. It's Bob Walters and Brett Grasso. Locked Up Sports, and it starts now.
Bring them out, bring them out, hey. Bring them out, bring them out, bring them out, bring them out, hey. Bring them out.
Here we go. Bob Walters from the Brian Gunzel Studios. This is Locked Up Sports. The Mets have a day off to think about the loss after the bullpen blows a chance to take 3 or 4 from San Diego. Judge gets it and hits another milestone in the nation's capital. It's day 1 at the U.S. Open, and we speak with Anthony Rivera, the host of the To Shea podcast. Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Bob Walters. Thank you for joining us. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Leave us a review if you are listening on the podcast end, and always check out our website at lockedupsports.net. Busy weekend behind us, busy day today going on with everything with the U.S. Open and whatnot. We also got the host of one of the best Mets podcasts out there, Anthony Rivera, the To Shea podcast. He is the host of it. He will be with us in just a couple minutes. We'll do plenty of Mets. Listen to Mets. They get to sit and think about it, and that was a bad loss yesterday. It was one, and I told you that this bullpen has a couple more of these losses in them. They are crushing losses when it happens like that. You didn't want it to happen there, but it's not the end of the world because they took 2. They got a split. It's really not terrible. You got a good 7 innings, I believe it was, out of Quintana, who looked every bit what you need him to look like the rest of the way down the line in this season if the Mets want to do anything, because the starting pitching's got to be more consistent. We know the bullpen is not consistent. We know that's an issue. We know that they're going to blow games. They're probably got a couple more of these in them, right? So you're going to have to play through that and hope that the games that the bullpen does blow are not really killers to you in the season. This was not a killer. As bad as it feels and as bad as it was, and they had the game in their pocket, it's really not terrible. Now, the Braves won tonight. Oh, the Braves are winning big right now, actually. They're up 9-1. And the Padres have already won. So the Mets got to get it together. They got to string some wins together here. They can't be, win 2, lose 3. Win 3, lose 1. They're going to have to string together some wins and get over the Braves and into the Wildcard. They only held it for a day or two since the All-Star break, right? The game, Senga came in and pitched. They took over the Braves. They hit a bunch of those home runs. There was the J.D. Martinez grand slam that night. And since that night, they really have been where they are now. 2 games back, 3 games back. They get it to within a game. So we're going to go over all that, the whole deal with the Mets with Anthony Rivera, the host of the To Shea podcast, in just a couple moments. I just wanted to get over what everything is going on today, and it's a busy day. Yankees tonight. Game over. Yankees win 5-2 in Washington. A pretty basic win. The Yankees, they're better than Washington. They went down there. They took care of business. Judge with his 1,000th career hit, a ringing double down the right field line as he just continues to tear up the whole league. And, he's having a historic season, an all-time great season. Glaber led the game off with a home run. You got 6+ innings from Nestor Cortez, which is a good sign. He's been pitching well lately. 6 2/3, 4 hits, 1 run, 5 strikeouts. Exactly what you need there. And the Yankees go up 2 games on the Orioles, who are idle. And with the schedule the Yankees have, listen, they could really stretch this out because they got 2 more in Washington. Then they're home to St. Louis. Then they go on the road to Texas and the Cubs. And then they have a long homestand with Kansas City, Boston, who's kind of fallen out of it a little bit. They're falling apart. They've fallen out of the division. They're still right there at the wild card. And then you're going to finish the season off with 3 at home against Baltimore and 3 at home against Pittsburgh, who will be out of it by the time that happens. They're pretty much out of it now. But that 3-game series against Baltimore could determine the American League East in the last week of the season. And the Yankees are going to want to stretch this a little bit. You want to beat Washington. You want to beat the Cardinals, who are not very good. And, it's not a tough schedule for the Yankees. They should be able to it's going to be right in front of them. They have it all in front of them. They will pretty much control their own destiny. If they win the games they're supposed to win, I think the Yankees will probably win the division. So, U.S. Open, day one at the U.S. Open is also going on. Novak Djokovic we keep talking about Djokovic getting older, but every time you turn around and you look up, he's in the quarterfinal, he's in the semifinal still at these majors, and he's up 2 sets now. He's going to roll through this match, obviously, opening night. It's almost a formality for stuff like that, but there was some interesting matches and winners. Coco Gauff, she won. Sloane Stephens out, she lost. But Blake Shelton won. Coco Gauff up, like I said, 6-2, 6-0. And Azarenka, who is ranked 20th on the women's side, it was an interesting story because she came out of nowhere. She was basically dead and buried, almost retired. She was ranked not in the top 100, and she's come back, and now she's a top 20 player in the world, and she's going to compete. It's a wide open tournament on both sides, more so on the women's side. Coco Gauff, of course, defending her title from last year. So we'll get into that whole thing. Monfils advanced, and he's always one of the most entertaining players out there. You want to see him go far because he's one of the better players, just more fun players to watch. He's animated. He gets the crowd going. He's fun to watch. Madison Keys, she advanced. Fritz advanced as far as the Americans go. Zverev with a win, a 4-set win. That's what's going on from the U.S. Open. We will cover the U.S. Open. I'm going to get Frank on this week at some point to talk some U.S. Open, so we'll get that whole thing going on. But let's get to our interview. Anthony Rivera, he's the host of the Subway to Shea podcast. Like I said, one of the best podcasts. If you're a Mets fan out there, check it out. You're going to love it. We had a good conversation with him this afternoon. Here is my conversation with Anthony Rivera, the host of the Subway to Shea podcast. All right, so now we'd like to welcome in a special guest. We have Anthony Rivera, host of the Subway to Shea podcast, and it's a great show. You can check it out anywhere you get your podcast. You're on YouTube, all over the place. Anthony, thanks for joining us today.
It's an honor. It's great to be on Locked Up Sports. I appreciate it, and let's talk some Mets. I know it's a little rough time, but we got to do it. It has to be done.
Listen, this is what we do, right? Mets fans, we know this is old hat for us, right? We don't know how to win. We know how to do this. Today, the day after a disaster. And listen, I had said that yesterday I had said that it was such a big game only because you want to start the road trip out well. You wanted to get Quintana a good start because he's been garbage lately, except for yesterday, which we got. And also because eventually the Mets have to make a move. They're just treading water. They're staying 2 games back. They get it tied, then they drop back. You got to string together some wins here together once in a while. A lot of people said they'd be happy with 2-2. How devastating was yesterday? How devastating of a loss was that yesterday?
Yeah, they get more devastating as we get closer and closer to September. And, you can only lose so much ground, especially to a team like the Braves right now who aren't at their, let's be honest, they're not fully healthy right now. I mean, no Spencer Strider, no Ronald Acuna, Ozzie Albies is out, now Austin Riley's out. I mean, you got to take advantage. The Braves are begging us to take that final wild card spot, and the Mets just, like you said, they're kind of just treading water right now. And obviously Sunday's game hurts a lot. You had a bounce back pitching performance from Jose Quintana.
Oh, he was great. He was great.
Awful. Yeah, he pitched great. He's been awful for about 4 starts. He has an over 8 ERA. So to the fact that he was able to give up only 1 run and turn things around, it gave the Mets a 2-0 lead. You get everything that you need from Francisco Lindor, who's been the MVP of not only this team, but quite possibly the league outside of Shohei Ohtani. You get Mark Vientos, who hits a home run, and he's been outstanding this season on offense. And then you go to your top 2 guys in the bullpen. You go to Jose Butto. You go to Edwin Diaz. And that's where everything kind of fell apart. You lose to a team that's ahead of you in the standings. You could have gained ground on San Diego just as much as Atlanta as well. And it hurts. It just hurts. And the losses only are going to get harder and harder to take if the Mets continue to play the way they've been playing.
Yeah, but that's the thing that it does hurt, and we were within arm's length of taking 3 or 4 from San Diego, was hot, who's been hot since the All-Star break. Now we're going to Arizona, who's even better, who's even hotter. But last week, if I would have said to you, we go in there, we get a split to start this road trip, you would have taken it, right? So is it real? I mean, absolutely. This bullpen stinks, all right? This bullpen has stunk all year. I get you say we finally, for the last maybe 2 or 3 weeks, Mendoza has he found his 2 guys. He wants to go 7 innings and then Budo and then right to Diaz. But that's bad. Diaz has been average at best this year. We were just talking before we went on about Diaz. I think he's been average at best. But what are you going to do? This is who we got. We couldn't rebuild the whole bullpen at the trade deadline. You just can't do that. It is what it is. Now Blackburn is hurt as far as the starters go, but we've been getting good starts. What do you think about Peterson and Minaya? They're surprises. They're basically 7 innings guaranteed, 6-7 innings every time out.
Yeah, I think I'm more surprised by David Peterson because he always reminded me of this, and we're going to go back in the day now. John Neese, Steven Matz type pitcher before this run that he's been on, and when
John Maine,
when you're getting starting pitching performances like you're getting from David Peterson, you have to take advantage of it. And what is he, like 8-1 right now? This just on the year.
Yeah, he's something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, Sean Manaea to a lesser extent as well, because we all knew he had the talent in him to do it. He kind of turned a corner in San Francisco, working in the pitching lab and all that stuff. And then you got Luis Severino as well. Both those 2 guys have been the leaders of this pitching staff, and they are going to lead the team into Arizona, where hopefully they can take 2 out of 3. And I'm not going to say that they're not going to do that, because look at what they did to Baltimore. A team that's, atop of the standings with the Yankees, a good team. The Mets have been able to play these good teams and take some series away. They just struggle against the terrible teams like the Marlins and the Athletics and, Anaheim and, Colorado. They always struggle against these teams for some reason, but hopefully, in Arizona, they can kind of turn a corner here. But I don't know about you. I'm tired of seeing 4-game series. I think I've seen the most 4-game series this season that I've ever seen in my life.
It's such a random, because I've heard a lot of, I was online today and I was laughing to myself. Everybody in one of these Mets groups or whatever that I'm in is going, too many interleague games. I don't know what's going on with this. Why we got to play the order? Listen, it is what it is, all right? Did we get screwed with the schedule? We all know that when the West Coast is where Mets seasons go to die, right? We've seen it many, many times. Now, is it Quintana pitching good yesterday? That's huge. Because, like I said, it's not the end of the world. They went 2-2. They split the series. Now they go in. Severino is he's a crapshoot every time out. He might give you a complete game shutout. He might give you 4 innings and 5 runs. He might not get out of the first. I didn't want him signed because I watched him last year on the Yankees, and he literally couldn't get out of the first inning, to the point where they had a starter pitch the first inning. They're like, maybe it's just the first inning, which is retarded because it wasn't So then when he went and he came in the second inning, he gave up 8 runs, so he couldn't do it. But sometimes he's capable, like we saw the last couple starts, to go out there and pitch excellent and give you a good start. And with this bullpen, you need these starters to go deep. Now they have Minaya, and then Severino, and then it looks like it's going to be Tyler McGill.
I can't with Tyler McGill. That guy's been given so many chances. And I'll say this. You said you didn't want Severino here. I'm one of the guys that wanted him here.
Okay.
Thinking that he was going to be the 3rd, 4th, 5th starter, not, the supposed ace of the staff or, top 2 guy. But, I can't with Tyler McGill. That's why Jose Quintana is that much more important if he can continue to do those starts, because it puts less of an emphasis on a guy like Tyler McGill, who we know is going to give up, 4 or 5 runs in 4 innings. I mean, it's almost automatic that happens with him.
And then you're
going to get that from David Peterson as well, but thankfully he's been such a good pitcher this season.
So good. But that's the reason they're in it. I mean, and Quintana, they should have swept Baltimore. If Quintana didn't go out there and throw a stinker in the middle game of that series, they could have swept Baltimore. They could have swept, I believe it was it the Rockies or something before that? Quintana again went out there and threw a stinker. So it's just the pitching. The whole team is inconsistent. This team has been just a roller coaster ride all year, more than most Mets teams has been. Think about it. They started the season, 0-5, 0-6, and then they were the worst team in baseball for 2 months. Then they were the best team in baseball for 2 months. So it's up and down. I think they're a 500 team, maybe a little bit better. Right now, they're 6 games over. We would have taken this in the beginning of the season any day, right? We thought this was a throwaway year. So we've gotten some surprises. We got Vientos. We got Iglesias. We got, the oh my God sign. We got Grimace. A lot of things going well for the Mets this year. But like I said, in the end, it's a building year almost. But you like to get a postseason berth out of it, right?
Absolutely. Look, this team had no expectations coming into this season. If any fan told you that they expected this team to be in the playoffs, they have to have been lying to themselves, because that's all I heard was that this team was no good. This team was nothing. They're not going to make it. And now they are sitting within 2 games of that final wild card spot and 5 or 6 games over 500. There needs to be a point where they make a stand here and they finally get over the hump. Like you said, there needs to be consistency. Can we at least get that in September? One full consistent month where everything is running on full cylinders, because we got hitting and no pitching. We got starting pitching, no hitting. Bullpen's working, starting pitching's not. It's
inconsistent.
Cannot get on all at once. It's so inconsistent. Absolutely.
You know what it is? That's a 500 team. Right? I mean, that's really what it is. Right. That's a 500 team, right? One thing's going, the other thing's not going. Now, there is a lot of Lindor. I was killing Lindor. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I was like, okay, calm down. I was killing Lindor in the beginning of the year. Is he going to win the MVP?
He was
no.
batting 89.
He was, and it was but he does that every year. I mean, not that bad, not to that extreme, but listen, I think now, I don't think he's going to win the MVP, but I think he's definitely in the conversation. And I also think now he's creeping towards a Hall of Fame conversation as well.
That's possible. Yeah, it's possible. It sucks that Ohtani is going to go, 50-50 in the season. But I don't know what the criteria is for these writers and whoever votes on the
It's
MVP,
whether they like him or not. So
whether they like the person or not, whether he was nice to them in answering their questions instead of what's on the field. Like, he plays defense. Ohtani doesn't play defense. Like, we don't know what the criteria is, but he's definitely put together an MVP type season, and he's definitely been pretty clutch when the Mets have needed him most of the season. It's other guys on this roster, and you can look at Brandon Nimmo since the All-Star break is Francisco Lindor in April. So I hope he gets the same amount of criticism as Lindor got at the beginning of the season.
He does. He has been. And you know what? And we should all feel stupid now because we were all sitting here lobbying saying how he got snubbed for the All-Star. And he did. He probably should have been on the team.
He did.
But to be honest with you, I don't want any of them playing in the All-Star game because they're going to get hurt. We get hurt in the World Baseball Classic. Forget it. Just don't play. But we were sitting here lobbying and calling for him. And then he's fell flat on his face. Harrison Bader. Harrison Bader I have right here. He's hitting 185 in August, a 545 OPS. That's like gets sent down to the minors type of numbers. I mean, has he just hit a wall, you think? Is he getting older? I think he might,
I think he's just hit a wall. Just look at his past seasons, right? He hasn't really played a full season. He's almost playing a full season with the Mets this year. He didn't do it with the Yankees in years past, and St. Louis he's gotten hurt at as well. So this is the first kind of real full season. It's kind of like Luis Severino all over again, right? But with a hitter. I can't send him down. He's had too many big clutch hits when you need guys like Pete Alonso doing that part, and he's done it. I just can't with him. I think I like this, somewhat rotation that they have going on with the outfield, whether it's him and Nimmo and Marte or Winker.
Marte's disappointed too. Marte's disappointing too because he's such a good ball player. He's got so much athletic ability. I know he was hurt, but last year he was no good. 2 years ago he was good. He was a good player for this team.
I think that Father Time has come for Starling Marte and his body because the legs, right? He had the double quad injury that he needed surgery on. He has the knees now. I don't know if he'll ever be the same again.
Yeah, probably not. And I feel bad. He's had a tough. He lost his wife and everything. He's a good story to root for, but
Yep.
And he had a great arm, and he had some speed. He was just like an all-around, like a good ball player. But, you know, it is what it is. The Mets have played good defense this year. Now, where Pete comes along, where do you stand on Alonso? Because I stand as, listen, it's not my money. Okay, as long as it's not going to prevent them from getting anybody else, any other free agents or anything, I don't care how much you give him. I'm not going to sit here and yell that, he's making $35 million. I don't care. It's not my money. And I think he's having an okay season. I think he's kind of turned it around a little bit, and it's hard because when you're the slugger on the Mets and you've got the slugger across town is Aaron Judge, you get lost in it, and it looks worse than it really is. I know he doesn't like clutch hits and stuff, but I think they got to sign Pete. He's homegrown. We never have homegrown guys play their whole career here, stars. I think they should sign him.
I'm on that as well. I think that they should sign him. The problem is he lets Scott Boras get into his ear. That's the problem. You can't tell all of Major League Baseball that this guy is worth what Aaron Judge gets, close to $300 million, and then with the bases loaded, bat 111. With runners in scoring position, bat 225. I can't give you $300 million for that. At that point, you got to go elsewhere. I mean, there's a certain amount that he should get, and obviously they offered him that contract, what was it, last offseason or last trade deadline, that he probably should have taken. He's just maybe it's just a 1-year thing where the contract's on his mind. But we saw this with like Michael Conforto to a worse extent because he was just awful that season. But like he's not coming up.
But we saw it with Daniel Murphy too. We saw it with Daniel Murphy, and he left, and he was good. So
we did see it with Daniel Murphy, and look, if he has if he takes over and carries this team to a playoffs in September, and then they go into the playoffs and he has a big September, obviously that changes a whole lot, right?
Of course,
like
Give him $700 million then. Give him $700. Just defer it all. Give him $1 million a year, like they do with Ohtani.
It's definitely hard to kind of spend all that money or just say give him whatever when you also have Juan Soto in free agency and you got a couple of other good free agents as well. I do want to bring back Pete Alonso, but I think because of what has happened this season, there is a line that I draw at how much I'm going to give him. But especially because he's a first baseman, He's a first baseman,
but he's first baseman. That's what they do. You need power out of the corner, out of the first base and out of your corner outfields. That's part of the reason why Nimmo's so disappointing. They put Nimmo in a corner outfield spot, and he's hitting on the Mendoza line with no home runs, no power. I think he hit one like last week or something. But you can't have that out of a corner outfield position, and that's what the Mets have.
I think he's hurt.
You think Nimmo's hurt?
I think Brandon Nimmo is playing hurt. I mean, he's been hurt a couple times, and he has not gone on the IL. He's just playing through it, whatever. But I do think that we're gonna find out something at the end of the season that something is not right with Brandon Nimmo right now.
I can see that.
He's too good for this to be playing this awful for this long of a stretch.
Now you had mentioned if it prevents us from getting Soto, we would Alonso. Listen, wasn't that the whole point of having Uncle Steve? But is that we don't have to worry about it anymore, right? We could give Alonso $30 million. We could give Soto $30 million. It doesn't matter because we have billions, right? It's not supposed to matter. It's not the Will Pine. It's being treated a little bit like the Will Pines.
You have to remember that, even though he has all this money to give and to spend, that there still is a luxury tax threshold against him. That if he spends, let's say, $700 million on Juan Soto, you can pretty much double that with taxes, right? And we lose draft picks and all that stuff. Look, I don't really care too much about getting the draft picks and the minor leagues. I'm so much focused on the team at hand. If they come up and they're good, whatever. How many times have we seen?
They're lottery tickets. Prospects are lottery tickets. None of us have a winner. We all have lottery tickets. None of us have a winner.
Yeah, absolutely. But he does have to be aware of the luxury tax threshold. That's what killed them last season. They gave
no, that's not true. What killed them last season is Verlander and Scherzer stink. Right? They got old right before us, right before our eyes. They got old. Nothing came together last year. I don't think it was the luxury tax or anything that killed them. That's the whole point.
They gave them a lot of money.
Yeah, who cares? He's paying their salary this year. When they say the Mets have a $300 million salary, half of that is on other teams.
That's a problem, though. You don't want to keep doing that.
No, you don't want to keep doing that, but that's my point. Is like, yeah, you're right. It's a problem for most people. It wasn't supposed to be a problem with us. He's a fan. Me and you, we come in there with $15 billion. I don't care. Right? This is the toy store for him. He was supposed to be one of us, a Mets fan that came in and just threw his money around. He can't spend all his money, right? His 2 generations from now can't spend all the money that he has. No matter how many Scherzers they buy and screw up on and pay on other teams. He can't spend it all. So I thought he was going to come in here and just, kind of throw money around. And now that doesn't always work. We tried to buy a World Series with that team 2 years ago. It didn't work. And we've been screaming at the Yankee fans for how long? You can't buy a World Series. You can't buy a World Series. Then we went and tried it, and it didn't work. We knew it wasn't going to work.
That's not the first time that's happened with the Mets either, right? Like 1992, 93.
Yeah, Bonilla and all them.
Money and it didn't work. So there's a delicate balance, right? Especially in this day and age of baseball and strategy-wise. Like, I cannot give, over $100 million or something to a starting pitcher when those guys get hurt and only play 5 innings. Like you should. That's where the Mets should be building in the farm system, is with pitching and giving money to free agents, to players who play every single day, like a Soto and Alonso.
Yeah, but how many pitchers do we have to see come up? By the way, we lived through Generation K, Isringhausen. I have a saying on this show, and it's called former Met, now good. Okay, people in it are like Isringhausen. There's a million names. You could go through them all, but like, we saw all these pitchers come up, and they don't do good, or they turn into Harvey, they have a good year, or DeGrom. I mean, thank God we got rid of DeGrom, right? He hasn't pitched since.
Well, yeah, I mean, he had to have the Tommy John surgery. He was, mostly injured for the latter part of that contract that he was here. And that's why they said, hey, you want to go to Texas? I guess, you take that more money in Texas. So, that ended up happening. But, you look at pitchers who are getting a lot of money, like Carlos Rodon, and like, how many starting pitchers have really worked out?
Yeah,
outside
not many.
of what, Garrett Cole? Maybe. Am I missing anyone else? That's a
I mean, you're right. You have to develop them, because look, Paul Skeen's coming up now. He's the next one, and we
have bad scouting. That's the problem. That's why David Stearns has now. You see what David Stearns has done over the last week or two? He's gotten rid of a lot of the scouting on this team. So, like, he's going to reshape. Hopefully it works. I'm not going to say it's going to work, but he's gotten rid of a lot of those guys of the past and is trying to move in a different direction.
Now, I've heard you on your show a bunch of times. I know it's out there that you don't like the Mets pitching coach, right?
I don't.
You don't. You feel something about the 2 hitting coaches, that they shouldn't have 2 hitting coaches. Me, I don't really pay attention to the pitching coach. I think, and especially the hitting coach even more. I think they're just irrelevant. I don't even know why they're paying these guys whatever they're paying them. These guys hit. They know how to hit, right? They know how to watch video. They hit the way they've hit since Little League. They have their stance. They're just like any of us. If I go up there right now in a softball men's beer league, I have the same stance I had when I was 7 years old in Little League. That's what you do. I don't think hitting coaches do anything. Tell us why you don't like the Mets coaching staff, pretty much.
Well, I'm always a advocate of, once you bring in a new regime here, that everyone has to be new. How long has Jeremy Hefner stayed on with this? I mean, Luis Rojas was managing. Like, he came in with Carlos Beltran. Like, that was supposed to be that Carlos Beltran got axed. He came in with that group. So, Luis Rojas, Buck Showalter. I mean, like, I think it's just too much to me. Like, he's been here for too long. We haven't seen any improvement.
DeGrom, he was here through DeGrom.
Jacob DeGrom was good before he got his hands on Jeremy Hefner got his hands on him. I mean, like, Jeremy, he was good from 2015 on, and like, he had that good twin. But you think at that point, in 2022, when this team was on their run,
no, I could have been the manager. I could have been the pitching coach, and it would have been the same thing. That's what I'm saying, though. That's the point. Like, who do you think would have been better with a different pitching coach besides Jeremy Hefner?
I expect more from a pitching coach when you have a bunch of reclamation projects and guys coming from the minor leagues. not with the Scherzers and the DeGroms and Chris Bassett's of the world that have been pitching in the league for a while. But when you got young guys coming, where's the improvement from Tyler McGill?
Peterson,
right?
And Manaea.
Manaea had been coming into his own
Fair
from San
point.
Francisco.
Fair point.
David Peterson, we've seen David Peterson pitch well before, and he needed hip surgery to get himself right. There are some pitchers, but like I expect more from this guy. If he's going to last this long, I expect this to be done like way better than what he's done.
Yeah, and then the Beltran. I mean, Beltran. Listen, I give Beltran credit. The only manager in Mets history never to lose a game. So I got you got to give him that, right? You got to give him that.
The other guys, like I don't think there should be two hitting coaches. They got I feel like they have two different philosophies.
You think they're listening to the hitting coach? You think they listen to anything these guys say?
An article just came out, I think, a Newsday about Francisco Alvarez struggling, and Eric Chavez saying he's listening to different voices on how to hit. And Eric Chavez wants him to. He says that the power is going to come. That he should be more focusing on hitting for average right now. I mean, like look at he has no power right now.
But they all tell you. Barry Bonds will tell you he wasn't swinging for home runs. You're not supposed to swing for power, right? You're supposed to be swinging for base hits. Now, if the hitting coach was Ted Williams or something like that, and the pitching coach was Randy Johnson or no, a lot of those great guys, I'd be like, okay, maybe Ted Williams could be the hitting coach. He might make a difference, but. Besides that, I mean, I just don't see it. And Alvarez is another one. We didn't even speak about him. I think Alvarez. I'm not worried about Alvarez. He's going to be the catcher the next 10 years. He's going to be he reminds me a little bit of Pudge. Not as good with the defense, but as far as like his hitting, and he's improved on the defense. He throws some guys out, and he does that pickoff down at second a lot of times too. That he throws from his knees.
Yeah, he still has a lot. I mean, it's a sophomore slump.
He's a kid
for him right now. Yeah, he's a kid. Was he 21, 22 right now?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, he's a kid.
So he's still got time. Look at, and really, he hasn't had time to develop through AAA, and right? I mean, look at Mark Vientos, right? Mark Vientos is finally coming into his own. He's gotten time to develop. They didn't want to bring him up. They didn't want to bat, so he stayed in AAA. He mashed the ball down there. Now he's up here and he's mashing the ball. You look at Brett Beatty, who came up like 5 games after getting the call up to AAA because of an injury, and he has just been okay. Like
I wanted them to I wanted them to trade Beatty because I think he's a quadruple A player. I think he's like excellent in AAA, and I think he's not good enough for the major leagues.
Yeah, a lot of people feel that way about him. And now with the emergence with Mark Vientos and the fact that he can play some defense at third base, it's not great, but I mean it's definitely serviceable. You'll take that with the power
he's all right. Yeah,
you.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
20. He's got like 21 home runs.
Mauricio.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. What'd you say?
You got Ronnie Mauricio as well. He's going to get ready to come back. So kind of Beatty's kind of lost in the shuffle to me.
Now it was McNeil. Listen, I had Steve Phillips on this show, and I was talking to him. It was right before they signed McNeil, and we were like, it was when he was having his big season, and I was like, you got to get McNeil. I have myself a McNeil jersey. As soon as I'm a bad luck charm. As soon as I bought the McNeil jersey, he changed his number, right? So I got the old number, and then Then now I got the jersey. I wear the jersey. He can't hit. So. That I take partial blame for McNeil. But we were speaking with Steve Phillips, and he said, be careful with McNeil. He's an older player. He hasn't really shown it. This might just be an outlier of a year. But to go from a batting champion to basically you can't hit the water if you jump out of a boat for half of this season, I mean, what happened to McNeil?
I think a lot of the rule changes with the shift, I think that messed him up a little bit. I don't know, because he in this second half of the season, he's reverted back to the 2019 McNeil with a little bit of power. He's pulling the ball more, and I don't know. I don't know if Jeff is a guy that is going to stay the length of that entire.
Because he doesn't have a position either. He kind of all over the place. But the outfield, the infield,
utility guy though. That's always needed on a team.
Yeah, you're right. But that's what he should be. He should be a bench guy that comes up, can play some defense late innings, maybe get a good hit. But you're talking batting champion, and now he got a big contract. I mean, good for him for getting the contract. But McNeil just ticks me off because, I mean, I could, if it wasn't for the little bit of power he's shown since the All-Star break, it was nothing. I could have went up there and did what McNeil did. I would have done it for the league minimum. You know, they could have talk about saving money. I would have did it for the league minimum. I could have got up there and struck out 3 times. Maybe get my bat on the ball. You know.
Yeah.
Now,
if he's not batting 300, there's really no use for him, right, on the team. Like, if he's not doing what he did in 2022, like you saw the first half of the season, he provided absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I agree.
And now he's starting to hit home runs. He's starting to hit a little bit better. So I don't know. I mean, he's been a big part of why this team in the second half has kind of stayed in this. So I want to give him, you know, his due credit there.
Fair point.
You know, Iglesias, Lindor, Vientos. We talked about that earlier. And I just don't know which McNeil is the real McNeil. We just don't know.
Now, I like Mendoza. I think we found a manager. I think one of the biggest moves this season was putting Lindor in the leadoff spot. It just completely changed this team. He's one of the best, if not the best, leadoff hitter in the game. I like Mendoza. I think he might be here for a while. When they hired him, I was like, who is this guy? I have a whole thing. I did a rant on him. I was like, I don't know who this guy is. We wanted the guy that we wanted Craig Counsell, but I like him.
I do too. Team started off 0-5, figured out a way to turn it around.
Who got the big home run?
Had an awful May.
Who turned it around?
Games under.
Who turned it around with the big home run? Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Right? That's a big hit. That's worth $30 million a year, right? Game 6.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
yeah, you look at May and they were they 12 games under 500.
Oh yeah, they were like 11, 12 games under 500, and then they went on that run for 2 months.
Yeah.
And like I said, I give Mendoza a lot of credit. He's handled the team. He's handled the bullpen being crappy, and there's nothing you can do about a crappy bullpen because when you have a bad bullpen, those are back-breaking losses like yesterday. That was a terrible loss yesterday, and that's going to happen with a bad bullpen, and you just got to deal with it.
Yeah, you're right. And I think, too, what's important is I think that this team, at least the major components of this team, did not want to see Buck Showalter go, right? Like Francisco Lindor and him were tight. They were close. He was close with a lot of the other main components of this team. And it was going to be hard to try to navigate and bring in a new manager. And I think Mendoza has pretty much kind of, been that player's manager and done everything right. Like, look at obviously the bullpen moves, which bullpen's a dime a dozen.
Yeah,
Unless you have an elite bullpen, you're just throwing darts at the wall.
Exactly.
But when it comes to the offense, look at all the, he moved JD Martinez the other day down to 6. Hit a home run, had a couple of hits. You mentioned Lindor, right? Moving him to leadoff. I always thought Lindor should have been the leadoff hitter. I don't think Brandon Nimmo, to me, is your prototypical leadoff guy.
Lindor's got
doesn't
speed.
Steal any bases.
Yeah. No, Lindor's a leadoff hitter. We just looking at him, he's a leadoff hitter. He's quick. He just has that. He fits the role of a leadoff hitter. I agree 100% with you on that. Now, do the Mets? Do they beat the Braves? Do they overtake the Braves? Because listen, you're around my age. We know we know how it is with the Braves. We have that feeling that it's never going to happen. Just because, even though it's happened a couple times, it's the Braves. Do they overtake the Braves? Does this team get into the postseason?
The fact that it hasn't happened for us for so long that you kind of become I don't want to say complacent, but kind of even keeled. If they don't make it, it's just okay, it's just been another year.
I know.
So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go and lead on the side of that. At some point, that they will figure this out. All they have to do right now, all they have to do is beat all the bad. No, if they can get to within 2 games, right? If they stay and maintain the 2 games by the time that they play the Braves. There's an opportunity. They did it during that 4-game set. I said, get them to within 3 games so that we can. And they had overtake them for 24 hours. But you have to have.
Kodai Senga pitched. Kodai Senga pitched that game actually when they overtook him. I was
that game, yeah. And they can't be 5 or 6 games by the time they play the Phillies and the Braves. They have at some point crunch time has to click in here. Every time they get 2 wins in a row or 3 wins in a row, big wins.
Yeah.
They have, not only do they lose, but it's a heartbreaking loss. How many more of those can you go through in a season?
I'm sure we can go through more. I'm sure we will go through more. Now, I'm just like you. Now you're more optimistic than me. I think forget it. If we're 2 games within the Braves coming into that series, no. It's over because I've been there a million times. within a game. We need this series. It's the late season against the Braves. We lose. We get swept. Like, I think they got to be 2 games ahead of the Braves coming into that series, just because that's my pessimistic 40 years of a Mets fan talking right there. I think it's 50-50. I think it's a flip of a coin whether this team makes the playoffs or not. I'd love to see them in. And if they're in, there better not be a bunch of empty seats in the upper deck like there was last time, because that pissed me off.
I was at Game 2 in 2022, the Jacob deGrom's final game.
Okay, yeah, I was there. I was there.
It was not full.
No, it wasn't full. It wasn't full.
I don't know what happened to the fan base where they didn't if they were just so dejected from that Brave series before that it just took them out, but they have just not been selling out.
It's embarrassing. It was
series,
embarrassing.
Yeah, the Braves 4-game set, like when they came into that was a pretty good atmosphere. Look, I went to an event last week, a ticket holder event, because I'm a partial plan holder.
Okay.
It was a relive the memories 1999-2000 team. Al Leiter was there. Robin Ventura was there. Now, obviously, that team is way better.
Oh, I love that team. We love that team. Even though they lost, we love that team.
It took them till game 163 to make it into the playoffs. So anything is possible. I'm going to keep that optimism going. But this team has to, have to start taking care of the terrible teams that they're playing. And then they have to do what they've been doing against the good teams, which they actually have been playing good.
They play up to their opponents and they play down to their opponents. So we'll see. There's about, 40 games left. We'll see how it goes. Listen, hopefully, when you said your partial season ticket, but did you get the city tour, the City Field tour? Because I'm not a season ticket. I'm not a season ticket holder. You know what I got? And I'll put pictures up when this goes. You'll see. I got private tour in the dugout, in the locker rooms, in Steve Cohen's box on the field. I had Bob Husler on the show, and I was showing him the pictures, and he's like, I can't believe it. He goes, did you buy the ticket? I didn't buy the tickets. The guy still calls me today. I got a private tour. Me, my wife, and my daughter sitting in the dugout. I was like, this is great. Guy still calls me. I feel bad, but I wasn't spending money this year, especially because StubHub, you could get the tickets.
Yeah, they're. Sometimes you're better off doing it that way. I don't know if I'm going to renew going into next year because it's just expensive.
It is.
Life happens.
Yeah, and it's every day. Baseball's every day. Like, you don't realize how it's every day. You're gonna go. You 10-game homestand. You got 10 days in a row. You go into the Mets games.
Yeah,
and I live.
And it's a lot, especially when you got I coming from a different state, so I got to pay for parking and tolls.
Oh, Jersey! Oh, you're a Devils fan, so Jersey is that where you're coming from?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus! I wish I knew that before. It would have changed everything. But now tell us about your podcast. Tell us where we can find you. Everything about it, like that.
Yeah, Subway to Shea podcast, talking all the news and happenings surrounding the Mets weekly. Actually, I don't even have like a set day or time.
Me neither.
I just whenever I'm ready to go, I just go. So
whenever you're pissed off enough to get in front of the mic, right?
yeah. So whenever it is, but you can follow on TikTok, Instagram, X at Subway to Shea. I post little clips from the show as well. And you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify if you just want to listen to it. But if you want to watch it, I'm also on YouTube.
Awesome. So, and I'm going to come on that show if they make the playoffs, and then I'll argue with you more. I liked arguing with you here. So his name is Anthony Rivera. The show is Subway to Shea podcast. Hey, man, thanks for coming on. Thanks for talking some Mets with us. We're definitely going to do it again.
I appreciate linking up with you, man.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, man. How about that? Thank you to Anthony Rivera. And once again, the name of the show is the Subway to Shea podcast. And like I said, if you're a Mets fan, check it out because you're gonna like it. He does YouTube. He goes live on YouTube. He interacts with everybody. Listen, it's a good show. If you're a Mets fan, check it out. We want to thank him for coming on. That pretty much does it. That's all that's going on with. Over the weekend, there was the Little League World Series. Did you see the Little League World Series? Rough one for Chinese Taipei. I mean, that was rough. It was a great game. I don't know how. I'm not as into the Little League World Series as I used to be. I used to it was appointment television for me to watch. I feel like it used to be bigger than it is. But listen, that was a great game. You had the team from Florida. No team from Florida had ever won. You had them down to their last out. They get the big hit, the base hit to tie the game. The throw is cut off by the pitcher in Chinese Taipei. That it might have got him at the plate. The game could have ended right there. It didn't. It was cut off. The run scores, tie game. They go to extra innings. They get to the 8th inning. First off, in the 7th inning, the U.S. team from Florida had a chance to win it. The guy on first, a double in the gap. The coach, the kid was rounding third. He was headed home. The third base coach puts up the stop sign, and the throw was bobbled. So, which, first of all, you got to always, if you're in Little League, you got to test the throw. Make him throw you out, right? Because I'd say 7 out of 10 times, they're not going to throw you out. They're just kids, you know? They're not as accurate. He should have sent them. It almost cost him the game. In the 8th inning, Chinese Taipei couldn't get, they put the runner on second starting in the 8th inning. Chinese Taipei couldn't get him around. U.S. came up. First guy bunts down the first baseline. The second baseman for Chinese Taipei forgets to cover. And he just throws it to nobody. The pitcher throws it to nobody at covering first base. It goes down the right field line, and Florida gets their first ever Little League World Series. I just feel like it used to be bigger, like a bigger deal. But, we had the team from Staten Island here in New York that they went a little bit far. You had Judge, who, there was the controversy there with the coach coming out and saying Judge snubbed the team. The Yankees backed up Judge. I didn't like how the Yankees handled that because, listen, they backed Judge up. It was almost like a fight they were getting in with the Little League coach. No, Judge wouldn't do that. He didn't do that. Listen, they should have just invited him to the game, right? Invite the team to the game. Let them meet the Yankees again and just be done with it. Instead of dragging it out, taking the Yankees taking Judge's side, the Little League taking the kids' side and the coach's side. It was unnecessary drama for 3 or 4 days. And then, you got you got Judge snubbing the Little League teams. You got Stanton knocking out the umpires with his bat. Luckily, the umpire, it sounds like he's going to be okay, just a concussion. But that was scary yesterday with the bat snapping off, and it nails the umpire. And listen, those umpires put up with a lot. The fact that we give them a hard time is almost like, and my cousin Jay is an umpire. And the fact that we get all over these umpires, and I know in major leagues, they have to be good and everything, but they get worse than the catchers. Think about it. They're back there for both teams, catching foul tips, bats, getting the grief from both dugouts. They put up with a lot. And I don't know what their salary is, but they earn it. I'll tell you that. All the way from Little League, where they get a hot dog. I used to umpire Little League. They get a hot dog in Little League. I used to do games for a hot dog down at that Broadway, Save a Little League. I used to umpire games. My brother now does umpiring, and like I said, my cousin Jay does it at a high level. He does the softball Little League World Series. So, cut the umpires a break, would you? They go through a lot of crap, but that pretty much does it for us. We want to thank Anthony Rivera for coming on. Listen, the Mets, they got to get it. They got to string some wins together. They can't keep treading water. You can't keep coming on here and saying they're still in it. They're still in it. They're 2 back because you're going to run out of real estate in this season. And you're going to be 2 back going into the Brave series. And we'll have a chance, but then they'll just get swept away. I'm telling you, just like you heard me say, they need to be 3 games up going into that Brave series. Because we all know what happens when they play the Braves in the last week of the season. We've all seen that movie 100 times. And only once or twice has it had the ending that we wanted to have. So, thank you to Anthony Rivera. Don't forget to check out that podcast, Subway to Shea podcast. And, of course, always head on over to lockedupsports.net for all your Locked Up Sports needs. We got a Mancini report out earlier today. We got all types of things going on. So Yankees win tonight. U.S. Open Day 1. We're going to have Frank on to talk about it sometime this week. Thank you to Anthony Rivera for coming on, giving us a couple minutes. That was a great conversation about the Mets. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did talking to him. And that does it for us today. Brett will be back with us next week. We will do a football NFL preview as that's college football starts next week. And then, we're a week after that, it's the NFL. And we're away we go with the NFL and Locked Up Sports always. We love the NFL. We love the football season. The teams here have stunk lately. The Jets, big season for the Jets. The Giants, I'm not expecting much out of the Giants, but we'll save that for our football preview. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I'm Bob Walters. Till next time, from the Brian Gunzel studio. See ya.